can you hurry up and do this in my life? Like, I don't want this anymore. I have the willingness, I want to let it go. I don't want it no more. But when, Jesus, when? Hello again. So today is going to be more of a short video, and this is going to be a Christian girl talk video where we're just going to get a little bit more personal and more transparent. So we're going to be talking about things that I've struggled with, things that I know a lot of people struggle with, things that just in general. One thing is caring a lot about what people think about me. I've struggled with that for years, struggled with that when I was younger. Caring about just how I was perceived about, I think it was just the set of caring about being perfect or appearing perfect, and it's very vain, and I understand that, and that's not something in my heart that I want, but it's something that I know I can't change on my own without the Lord. Now, there's probably like, well, you made videos about how you don't care anymore, and that's true, because at that time I didn't care, and I really thought that that was it for me. I was very secure, and I feel like some people don't understand. Sometimes there is some slight setbacks of where you go back, and not, of course, not on purpose, not like saying, oh, I chose this, or, this and that, but sometimes there are moments where, the pressures of life just kind of get to you. That's why we have Jesus, because we can't do it on our own. If we could, we wouldn't need Jesus, but we do. And I know where to go when I do, but let's say, picture this. You have your heart is full for God, you want the things of God and all this kind of stuff. You've seen deliverance and you've been around deliverance. You've gotten demons casted out of you, all this kind of stuff. You've experienced freedom. You've gotten a closeness to the Lord, always being delivered, almost kind of like a quick fix kind of thing. And, you just always, it's not necessarily that it was bad, it's just that, you've always just been around God and been around that environment. So you have the heart of the Lord, and you always want to do what God tells you to do, you always want to do how God wants you to do. And so much so that in the past you've been deceived because you thought you were hearing from God, but in reality you were hearing the enemy that was just trying to sound like Jesus and used your willingness to serve the Lord against you. Now, this was years ago, okay? However, where I'm going with this now is, now that I'm here, that I'm at the place I am, I'm 21 now, my heart has always, again, still has always been always wanted to be good, always wanted to do the good thing, always wanted to do what I feel like the Lord was calling me to do. I just always wanted to do right. It's like in my heart, there are struggles that I understand, that I see sometimes, but then it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't like that and I don't want that. Sorry to cut you off, don't mind my bed. In this exact scenario, I didn't really specify it, but what I was struggling with was really just fear, jealousy, and I was saying how I didn't like the way that it felt. But yeah, I didn't really specify exactly what I was talking about. But yeah, it's not necessarily that I feel guilted about it or condemned or shamed, because I'm not ashamed. But it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, Lord, can you hurry up and set me free? Can you hurry up and do this in my life? Like, I don't want this anymore. I have the willingness, I want to let it go. I don't want it no more. But when, Jesus, when? Now, I do want to clarify, there are certain times where, that let's set you free, let's get rid of that like now kind of thing is necessary. But in my specific situation, let's say it being jealousy, or let's say it's being fearful, all this type of stuff. Picture that, right? Like me saying like, Lord, okay, I don't want this anymore. I don't need that anymore. I don't like what I'm seeing when I see this. I don't like feeling controlled. I don't like feeling this way, Lord. I don't want it anymore. And it's like you try to give it up, like you're trying to doing everything that you've known to do in the book, where you're like, okay, all I need to do is just this, like there's a formula kind of thing. In this moment, I had just been feeling like the Lord was telling me, like Sydney, like you're trying to control how quickly, almost like you're trying to speed up the healing process. You're trying to take your salvation in your own hands because you want something to happen so quickly. Almost like saying you need to stop trying so hard. Stop trying to control how fast you receive it. Stop trying to control how fast you move on from it. Not necessarily saying that to be in suffering, but more so saying that you need to stop trying to do it yourself in your own strength. Stop trying to be God, but instead of that, leaning towards God and saying, okay, Lord, I give this to you and I take my hands off of it. Even though I'm not feeling free right now, even though I'm not seeing the freedom, or I don't feel change right now, trust that in the right timing, the switch will happen. But to stop trying to make it happen in your own strength. because that's when you are leaning and not being dependent on God. But that's when you decided to take the wheel and try to do it yourself because you feel like God can't, or God won't, or feeling as if He won't be free. So I noticed the Lord doing that personally in my life. Moments in my life where I'm like, Lord, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this way. I'll give this to you. I catch myself sometimes like, okay, let's hurry up and try to fix this. Let's get it out the way because I don't want that no more. Here, like I did everything I was supposed to do. I checked every box, every list, everything that I knew to do that was right. I went and got prayer. I got this and that. But it was like God was saying, you need to stop trying to do it yourself. You need to stop trying to control, and you need to trust. And that's something the Lord was working on me on. I feel like I've never really felt that serious lack of trust in God so much until now. As God has been reconciling and healing those wounds and those areas in my life, at the end of the day, God is the one who changed me. So I remember I used to say back in the day, which I probably need to start telling myself again, it's not with everything, but in certain situations where it applies, where it comes to things that you can't change, all you gotta do is pray about it, give it to the Lord, and say, Lord, if you don't do it, then it won't be done. That's it. It's like, and the Lord obviously, He wants you to succeed, right? And of course, you have to be in the right mindset, the right position, and the right heart posture. But I just noticed that in my life, there are certain moments where I wanted to be healed in an instant. What the Lord's been telling me is that everything happens in God's timing, not my own. And then I have to take my hands off of it and let God be God. Let God do what He does. Let him do His thing, and take my hands off the situation, And God has not led me wrong. Even when times where I feel like He did, there was always something that went wrong on my part, okay? You have to be humble to understand where you go wrong, to understand your faults. You gotta be humble. You have to humble yourself if you want to grow. Yeah, another thing that I feel like is really personal to me, and which I'm not even sure if I'm gonna keep in the video, but one thing that I had just been struggling with lately was being single. Being single with the desires to want to be married and have children without seeing any of it. I'm 21 and I've never been in a real relationship. I've never been on a date. I've never had that romantic moment, with someone that, I've never really had anything quite like that. And I've always kind of wanted that. I find it weird now because back then I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to get married. But back then I was like, you can hold down on the kids because I can wait for that. I don't need no kids right now. But I don't know what it is. But lately lately it's been like a desire to want to have children. And sometimes it feels strong. Sometimes the Lord gives you those desires because sometimes He's going to bring that into your life because He wants you to have it, and He wants to kind of prepare you for what He's going to give you. But like I said, you can't really go by your feelings, and you have to really decipher and learn how to decipher who is who and what is flesh and what are the things that you're feeding into yourself, because what you feed into your spirit will alter your feelings. You watch a lot of videos about puppies and stuff like that. You're going to want a dog. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's God's plan in that moment, just because you feel like you want to. I've prayed before, I'm like, Lord, if it's not time to get away, and it went away, but then it came back. I noticed that it's hard sometimes because it feels like almost everywhere I look, there are people in relationships, and there are people my age getting married and having kids, and I'm like, and I know I'm very young. I know people are like, you have plenty of time. A desire of mine, which I know has been a desire for many others, but a desire for me in general, and has been for a long time, is I've always wanted to be married young. I've always wanted to have kids with my husband at a young age. I just wanted that at a young age, and it was even prophesied that I would be married young and that I would have children with my husband at a young age. And I am still young. What young means, what all young includes, I don't know. And even when I see others and all that kind of stuff, sometimes I notice jealousy will creep in, when you see the people and they're your age and all this kind of stuff, and it's like they have everything that you want. That's when I also have to, check my heart, and I have to pray, and I have to just take all my concerns and all that and just lean towards the Lord and His will and just trust Him and just give all that to Him, because He knows. He's not naive, He's not slow, He knows what I want. But I also know that if it's not happening now, then it's not the time. And it's very apparent because if it was a time, then it would have happened. I noticed that even for myself, just that vulnerability in those areas of wanting those things from my life and feeling sometimes like you're so close, but yet so far. Sometimes even where it was like, where you thought you were close to something, and then what? It's hard, and it's gonna be hard. It's not like it's gonna go away necessarily, but it's one of those things where at the end of the day, all you can do is trust in the Lord, because you can't do anything else. That's all you can do. And sometimes that's exactly where God wants you to be. Because if you're not trusting Him, you know, you're doing all this stuff, and you know, you're panicking and stuff like that. You know, why would God give you something like that? Because why are you panicking so much? Why are you doing all this? It's probably because you made it bigger than what it should have been, and you made it an idol. And I know, because that is exactly what happened to me at one point, was I made something an idol. Sometimes you don't even realize that it was an idol until you realize it was an idol. Yeah, just that transparency, because I know you see a lot of Christians and a lot of people that have like high authority and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, you don't think that they go through things, or oh, you know, they don't, you know, this is not. And not to say that, you know, we're supposed to be in bondage, no, but that doesn't mean we don't have seasons where it's not always rainbows and unicorns. That doesn't mean we don't have seasons where we're leaning on faith and really pushing that fear away and really trying to just cling on to what God is saying. So this is just transparency and knowing that, you know, of course, that you're not alone. A lot of times the enemy likes to make us feel like we are alone, like we're the only ones going through this, like we're the only ones dealing with this, like no one understands us, like we have to keep our mouths quiet, can't tell nobody nothing about what we're going through because we feel like they don't understand, which is a lie from the pit of hell, and all this stuff. You'd be surprised, especially when God is calling you to say something to someone, ask someone for help. You'd be surprised, because a lot of times you may be thinking, oh, they won't understand. That's just the enemy's lie. But then if you actually do it, you find out that they actually do understand. They actually have exactly what you need to move on to where God is calling you to. And move on from that roadblockage of a mindset. Yeah, but at the end of the day, God's word still stands. Regardless of feelings or all this kind of stuff, at the end of the day, no matter what, you just have to lean on the Lord and just trust Him. So that's where I am. Yeah, even when you do get all those things, you know, you're still not gonna be perfect, and it's not gonna complete you either. Yeah, that's just, you know, sometimes life says in this life you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. Yeah, my camera's about to die, if not already dead. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.